Thank you, Chair. It was good to get back on the road throughout this parliamentary break and go and see some regional towns in Queensland. It's been a long time since I've been out there, and in the last month I travelled across to the Darling Downs in the first week, where I went to Warwick, Stanthorpe, Goondiwindi, Dalby and Gatton. Then came back to the office for a week and then had another 2 weeks on the road, where I went out to Roma, Charleville, Quilpie, Blackall, Barcaldine, Emerald, Claremont, Charters Towers, Ayr, Townsville, Bowen, Mackay, Gladstone and Rockhampton, and then finished up in Hervey Bay and Gayndah. And many of the problems people face out in the regions are very similar, despite the geographical distances between many of the towns and the different landscape and scenery and the industries that these towns may rely on. And I'll summarise some of those problems now, and that's obviously a shortage of labour. I know we have a very high immigration in this country, but unfortunately too many people just move into the big cities of Sydney and Melbourne and don't really travel out to the bush, where there really are so many employment opportunities. And I was fortunate enough actually to stop off at the Central Queensland University in both Rockhampton and Gladstone at the School of Manufacturing and the School of Mining. And there are so many opportunities in those particular areas in TAFE and the mining industry and the agricultural industry and process management areas. If only we could get more people into TAFE and probably less people into university. I think it's time we had a good look at our tertiary sector in this country and started to focus more on TAFE courses and apprenticeships rather than degrees, because that's where the work is out in the regions. The other thing, of course, as usual, is there's always difficulties with health. Many towns needed GPs, and of course we've got the same old issue of closed maternity wards. And I know Roma, Quilpie is looking for GPs, and many other towns. And then Gladstone, a big town of between 60 and 70,000 people, its maternity ward has closed down. Now, I've often touched on this issue in the past, where we've had over 30 maternity wards closed in the regions in the last 3 decades under the state Labor government. But to think that a town the size of Gladstone, and not just the size of Gladstone, it's an extremely prosperous town. I mean, it's basically the manufacturing powerhouse of Queensland, with so many smelters and refineries there. I mean, it's going to be the future hub for more development in the region, hydrogen being one of them, and it just beggars belief that we cannot get services, particularly obstetricians, in a town like Gladstone. When I went to Goondiwindi, for example, they've got 3 obstetricians and 3 anaesthetists. So you've really got to ask yourself why the Queensland government can't sort all that out in terms of keeping the maternity ward open out there. The other thing that really concerned me was when I was in Mackay, there's talk of building a hydro dam upstream at Yungala. Now that's got a World Heritage platypus site. The idea that you're going to build a dam that can provide 5 gigawatts of power, and that's going to be pumped hydro, which means you lose another 20% when you pump the water uphill, so you're going to have to basically be able to provide 6 gigawatts of power from the likes of renewable energy. So take, for example, wind turbines. They have a 40% capacity, so you would have to provide 15 gigawatts of wind power to basically make sure you could have enough power if you were going to use this pumped hydro scheme every day to pump the water uphill. And to put that into context, Queensland on average uses between 9 to 10 gigawatts of power every day. So basically we're looking at building an enormous number of wind turbines, massive area reclaimed in flooding for these dams, and really, anyone that tries to tell you that renewables are going to be good for the environment are kidding themselves. And can I say that if you ever do get up to Queensland, make sure you do go out and explore the Great Dividing Range, because it's, we often think about the Great Barrier Reef, but the Great Dividing Range in Queensland is a really beautiful part of the world, and it doesn't get enough credit. I also spoke to some sugarcane farmers, and of course they expressed their normal concerns about the control of pricing by Wilmont. That's always an ongoing issue, and I think we really have to ask ourselves, why did we ever let our sugar mills get wrapped up in the hands of foreign owners, only to have our sugarcane farmers be held to the mercy of foreign conglomerates. Thank you.
Senator Brennan.
Authorised G. Rennick, LNP Chermside.